What is Irish whiskey? And what makes it so delicious? Delicious. Well, you might say it's triple distilled. Well, that's only true if you're talking about Middleton or bushmills. You might say Irish whiskey is unpeated. Well, that is true unless you're talking about cooleys, peated, Connemara Irish whiskey. You might even say Irish whiskey is blended. This is true, except for bushmills and tullamore single malt. Or an unblended pot still whiskey from Middleton, such as redbreast. So when it comes to Irish whiskey, it's hard to encompass under one category. So let's talk about it. Led by Irish monks in the 10th century, Irish whiskey is believed to be the first whiskey ever distilled. Now, it's not the delicious barrel-aged goodness we know today. When it was originally distilled, it was an unaged grain spirit. And back then, they didn't drink it, they actually used it for applications such as perfume. Now, leading up to the 17th century, just like its Scottish brothers, Irish whiskey was made entirely of malted barley. Malting the barley is a common practice. It breaks down the hard starches into soft starches, which makes the sugars more readily available in the fermenting process, resulting in a much higher yield than its unmalted counterpart. However, this changed when the English began taxing them on their malted barley. This began in the late 17th century and went on through the 18th century. Because of this, the Irish found a way to get around the tax. So they actually started using around 60% raw barley in their mash bills. Essentially, it was a big screw you to the tax man. However, this use of unmalted barley ended up creating a unique flavor profile that is uniquely delicious. Delicious. Fast forward to today, and it is still used by Middleton, Ireland's largest distiller, and many more. The raw barley is known for adding the aromas and taste of hot cereal, a floral essence, and even ripe fruit, such as apples, peaches, and pears. However, eventually the Irish got tired of British control, and this started with the Easter Uprising of 1916. This marked the start of one of the roughest periods in Irish whiskey history. Through the Irish Civil War, and eventually when the Republic of Ireland was formed in 1948, the sales to the British Commonwealth dropped and eventually ceased during the Anglo-Irish Trade War of the 1930s. And you might know around the same time, American federal prohibition was from 1920 to 1933, with some states actually implementing prohibition all the way till 1966. These events added a lot of fuel to the fire, essentially eliminating the two largest exports of Irish whiskey. Fast forward to 1966, and the total Irish whiskey production was down to 3 companies: John Jameson and Son, John Powers and Son, and Cork Distillery. The Irish whiskey business was failing, so they made a desperate decision to combine all 3 of their companies into one single company, Irish Distillers Limited. After all 3 of these companies merged, they shut down their distilleries and all merged into one modern distillery in Middleton in 1970. And fun fact, this is the distillery that is known for Jameson today. However, not only did they just consolidate under one roof, they completely reformulated Irish whiskey to better fit the world's taste preferences. Now, at the time, the go-to drink was blended scotch. The light, easy-to-drink whiskey was a hit amongst consumers. So, the Irish began creating a light, blended whiskey themselves. This was an incredible decision, as it laid the foundation for the incredible Irish whiskey growth that started in the 1990s. Fast forward to today, and Irish whiskey is producing and selling more whiskey than ever, with 12 million cases sold last year. And there's a reason for that. That's because it is so dang good. Now, if you want to get into Irish whiskey, I highly recommend the redbreast 12-year or the redbreast 12-year cask strength if you really want to turn it up. It's readily available, and this is an excellent representation of what Irish whiskey can be. So happy St. Paddy's Day. Now you are a pro on Irish whiskey history, and you can educate all your friends at the St. Patrick's Day parties. Bonus points if you bring them some redbreast. I'm the Thirsty Oak, and it was great having you guys today. Cheers.